told you Battleworld could have been your triumph!
Hello, and welcome to yet another marvelous video. I'm Rylan, and today we're going to be talking about a supervillain that seasoned readers of Marvel Comics might be familiar with. We're talking about Beyonder. Marvel Comics first introduced Secret Wars in 1984, the first event that featured all of the company's significant characters from different franchises. Regular villains were insufficient on such a massive scale, and hence Beyonder was created. The Beyonder was first described as an incomprehensible being from a universe outside of the standard Marvel universe. He was omnipotent and could mess with the lives of even the most powerful characters, such as Thanos and even the planet-eating Galactus. A new Defenders Beyond series by Al Ewing and Javier Rodriguez was released last year and included Beyonder as its primary antagonist. As a result, there has never been a better time to examine Beyonder's beginnings, as well as his past, as Marvel's most potent antagonist. But before we get into our explanation, we do have just one very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is just a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks! Now, let's begin.
Then you reject my offer of immortality. You're nothing but a
Marvelous story arc of Beyonder. Introducing Beyonder, The Secret Wars. Writer Jim Shooter and illustrator Mike Zeck created the character of Beyonder, who made his debut in Secret Wars issue 1 way back in 1984. The Beyonder was once the supreme entity of another dimension who was brought into the Marvel multiverse by a botched scientific experiment that changed Owen Reese into the Molecule Man. He began to watch this odd and intriguing environment after arriving. Upon arriving, Beyonder was astonished to see that the beings existed within Earth's reality and were not fully completed in their own right. Yeah, it sounds confusing, we know. You see, the Beyonder was the entirety of his realm, which means that he was everything of his reality. As a result, he was naturally startled to learn that Earth's humans were simply a portion of a bigger total that comprised their world, one that was itself, but also part of a bigger set of universes, possibly of limitless size, known as the multiverse. As a result, each sentient entity on Earth was intrinsically incomplete in the Beyonder's unique perspective, and so must struggle to discover some means to repair its incompleteness. As a result, the Beyonder concluded that the driving force of all sentient creatures must be desire, which is an emotional state entirely undiscovered for him. As he was fascinated by how mortals experience desire, he intended to conduct his own experiment. During Secret Wars, he abducted a vast collection of superheroes and supervillains. He transferred them to a planet that he built called Battleworld, where the two groups would fight for the right to fulfill any desire of the winner. This way, the Beyonder could determine if mankind's strong urge was for good or for evil. The vast collection included Hulk, SpiderMan, members of the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and even the Avengers, all on one side, along with the supervillains like Dr. Octopus, Ultron, Dr. Doom, and even Galactus on the other side. Over the following few days, they participated in secret war amongst themselves, with the majority of the criminals attempting to eliminate the heroes in order to get the reward promised by the Beyonder. In the end, Dr. Doom employed technological techniques to steal and absorb Beyonder's seemingly limitless power during the war. Too feeble to fight Doom, the Beyonder covertly took control of Claw's body, which had been reborn on Battleworld following his apparent demise by Dazzler. The Beyonder took possession of Claw's subconscious mind, motivating him to exploit Doom's concerns about the superhuman adversaries in the covert battle and Doom's deep-seated worries about his capacity to handle his newly acquired skills. Beyonder also had Claw convince Doom to give him some of his power. Beyonder then departed Claw's body and recovered his full strength when Doom was battling to control it during a confrontation with Captain America. After that, Beyonder left, and the Secret War combatants returned to the different locations from where they had been brought in. Return of Beyonder, Secret Wars 2. Secret Wars was such a hit that Marvel released a sequel just 4 months later. In this storyline, Beyonder no longer was happy with simply observing, so he arrives on Earth after being fascinated by what he saw during the first Secret Wars. Beyonder wanted to actually experience the lives and tribulations of these interesting lower beings, and so he created a physical body for himself that resembled a combination of the bodies of the many combatants from the first Secret Wars, and interacted with a variety of different characters characters, both heroes and villains. He then granted himself the same body as the Molecule Man. The Beyonder changed television writer Stuart Cadwell into the Armored Thunder Sword to explore the impact of allowing someone to fulfill his desires. Cadwell went rampant into his new persona, only to be confronted and defeated by a slew of costumed adventurers. Following that, he encountered several masked heroes, but found it impossible to understand or even connect to parts of their advice about their meaning of life. The Beyonder then met an underground figure named Vinny, who became his guide to the world to make use of his superhuman abilities. As a result, the Beyonder started to desire money, pleasure, and power over others under Vinny's control. He further transformed his physical appearance by growing black curly hair and remaining in this shape for most of his time on Earth. Next, in Secret Wars 2, Issue 4, the Beyonder eventually split up with Vinny and utilized his powers to seize the authority of every mind, even the atoms that make up everything on Earth. However, the Beyonder was unsatisfied with this and saw no sense in the service of others when they were forced to operate like automatons via deceit. As a result, he freed everyone and everything on Earth from his tyranny. He erased even the memory of his conquest on Earth, though he did allow a few of them to retain a hazy recollection of it. After that, the Beyonder took part in a series of adventures. He continued to experiment with having love relationships with humans. On his way to the Andromeda Galaxy to find the Avengers, he was responsible for the escape of their nemesis, Nebula. To explore the consequences of vengeance, the Beyonder changed Thor's adversary, the dark elf Algrim, into the terrible monster Curse. He also rescued Elizabeth II Youngman, then known as Talisman, from a planet in another dimension. The Beyonder even tried to make Alison Blair, also known as the superheroine Dazzler, his lover, even going so far as to bestow half of his power to her so they would be equals. However, she wasn't really in love with him, and this dissatisfied Beyonder, who was in possession of his full powers once again, parting ways with her. Beyonder's attitude began to shift in issue number 5. He started to dislike desire and contemplated whether he should be learning about it or simply return to the Beyond realm, in which he would feel whole in himself. He temporarily had a young superhuman mutant, Boom Boom, actual name Tabitha Smith, as his friend, and he horrified her when he threatened to destroy the entire world on a whim. She told the Avengers of this threat, who then informed other superheroes. The Beyonder decided he couldn't simply return to the Beyond realm and forget he'd ever felt desire, so he stayed on Earth but plunged to despair. Doctor Strange, the sorcerer, counseled him to find a purpose in his life. Thus, the Beyonder resolved to become a defender of life, like the other superheroes. He acted as a superhero both on Earth and on other planets, but remained unsure of his position in the universe, especially when Captain America and Mr. Fantastic expressed their concerns that humanity would grow unduly reliant on the Beyonder to solve their problems. They do have a very fair point, we must say. Anyway, the Beyonder overcame his reservations about being encouraged by his helper, a journalist named Dave. He then erased Death. Yes, you heard that right. The Death from the cosmos, incurring the rage of Mephisto, the satanic king of the dead realm, in another dimension. The Molecule Man, on the other hand, persuaded the Beyonder that life was worthless without death. Hence, the Beyonder resurrected Death by killing the reporter Dave, who gladly gave his life for the greater cause. In issue number 7, the Beyonder traveled to the South Seas Island to contemplate his life on Earth. While he was there, Mephisto's army of superhuman criminals assaulted him. However, he was saved by the Thing of the Fantastic Four. Inspired by the Thing's bravery, the Beyonder resolved to inspire others to discover their real calling in life. But once again, the Beyonder utilized his abilities to manipulate the thoughts of others to do this. After the Puma failed to kill him, he became sure that attempting to enlighten people was a waste of time. Poor Beyonder. You gotta feel bad for this guy. Furious, the Beyonder realized that there was no place for him in the cosmos and decided that he would be happier if he annihilated the multiverse and went back to being alone. The gods themselves dreaded his abilities. He eradicated most of the New Mutant and fought with the Avengers with Rachel Summers, who was Phoenix at the time. Finally, several of Earth's mightiest heroes banded together to defeat the Beyonder once and for all, but none was successful. The Beyonder resolved to become a mortal creature in an underground sanctuary deep under the Colorado Rocky Mountains. To attain his desired fulfillment, Beyonder built a massive machine required for this metamorphosis and tested it by reviving the New Mutant that he had murdered previously. He then turned it on himself, becoming immortal without supernatural abilities. He was accosted again by the furious Mephisto, who was very pissed with Beyonder. As a result, the Beyonder swiftly returned to his incredible power and immortality, deciding that in order order to protect himself from his enemies, he would use the machine to change himself into a mortal being, but one who retained his full strength. The Beyonder eventually entered the machine and was changed into a mortal newborn, after which the machine began transferring his tremendous power into a freshly created form. The device would then swiftly mature his neonatal form into an adult before releasing him. In the end, the Molecule Man destroyed the machine, killing the infant within, believing it was his final opportunity to save the multiverse from the Beyonder. The machine's destruction released the Beyonder's tremendous energy, which the Molecule Man transferred into another dimension. A new universe was created as a result of Beyonder's energies. Is there a Secret Wars 3? Beyonder returns in the Fantastic Four Volume 1, issues 318 and 319, where the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom go to the Beyonder's realm, where they encounter the Molecule Man and two other superior beings, Kubik and the Shaper of Worlds. In that scenario, it is revealed that the Beyonder was the result of a botched attempt to make a cosmic cube, a creation of nearly infinite energy gifted to inferior species by a mysterious race of extra-dimensional creatures known as the Beyonders, to encourage their progress. This cube's energy was divided between the Beyonder and the Molecule Man, which is why the former felt incomplete and attempted to fill that hole with the Secret Wars. Finally, like Kubik and the Shaper, the Beyonder and Molecule Man fused together and grew into a mature cosmic cube, which would grow sentient and be known as Cosmos. The origins of Cosmos and the Maker. The Cosmic Cube had evicted Owen Reese from itself before becoming Cosmos, since it just acquired his strength to be complete, not the man itself. He finally recovered his abilities as the Molecule Man, but his relationship with Marcia suffered permanently as a result. Months later, his evil self gained control and sought vengeance on the Beyonder. The Molecule Man drew the essence of the Beyonder from within Cosmos, causing him to fade. The Molecule Man defeated the Beyonder in their rematch, but Kubik appeared and asked for Molecule Man to restore the Beyonder's essence to Cosmos. Seeing Kubik's attachment to Cosmos, the Molecule Man then turned to Owen Reese and resurrected Cosmos. Cosmos opted to assume a female form. She believed that the Beyonder masquerading as male was the source of his past psychological impairments. With Kubik, who kind of became the tutor, she ventured into the Marvel Universe, learning about its numerous magical, demonic, and cosmic entities, putting the Fantastic Four to the test and debating the genesis of the Celestials. At one point in time, under unknown circumstances, Cosmos left Kubik, went insane, transformed herself into a mortal known as the Maker, and massacred 64,000 colonists of a Shi'ar agricultural colony. As a result, the Maker was sentenced to the Cayenne, a cosmic prison for the most dangerous offenders, for her crime. She was revered but seldom seen when she was imprisoned there. Thanos came to meet the Maker after realizing that she was the Beyonder, and in a rage, she annihilated a significant chunk of the Cayenne. Thanos knocked out the Maker, but did not murder her because he knew that doing so would free the true Beyonder from its human inferior form. Thanos wanted to keep the Maker living in order to keep the Beyonder imprisoned in a soul prison capable of holding him. The Annihilation Wave later struck and destroyed the Cayenne. The Maker was murdered in the attack, and the Fallen One discovered her body, confirming Thanos' concern that the Beyonder had been liberated. Yikes. The Illuminati has arrived. The Illuminati, the hidden conspiracy of heroes who had been covertly controlling everything behind the scenes in the Marvel Universe, modified the Beyonder's tale yet again. Professor Xavier stated in New Avengers Illuminati issue number 3 that he read the Beyonder's mind during the first Secret Wars and discovered that he was, in reality, an inhuman mutant who attained godlike abilities after entering the Terrigen Mist. At one point in time, Black Bolt, the king of the Inhumans and the Illuminati member, simply commanded the Beyonder to leave their domain, retconning the end of Secret Wars 2. The actual origin story of the Beyonders. The most logical explanation for the Beyonders' existence suggested throughout the years was that they were stand-ins for the Marvel's true creatives, explaining their proclivity to use the whole Marvel Universe as their playground. However, given the Beyonders' involvement in destroying the 7th version of the multiverse beyond the second Secret Wars incident, a new official explanation of their origins had to be provided at some time. Finally, the mysteries were resolved due to the Defenders Beyond issue number 2, created by Al Ewing and Javier Rodriguez, released last year. The Defenders is a defensive mechanism assembled by the multiverse in times of need. They had to journey back to the second Cosmos from the 8th, where they encountered the original Beyonder and the first Secret Wars with his colleagues. There, they learned of their origins. The Celestials, a renegade group of aspirants, the very first creatures created in the first Cosmos, produced by the Beyonders in the second. When the aspirants and the Celestials' fight destroyed the first Cosmos, it also created a multiverse with endless possibilities. To keep order in the midst of turmoil, Celestial, the Celestials created the Omega, which are unlimited life forms with the ability to destroy even their creators. In the event of another Celestial war, this was the ultimate failsafe. When the second Cosmos died, the Celestials migrated to the third, but the Omega stayed in the second to continue their maintenance responsibilities and acquired the moniker the Beyonders. Defenders Beyond also indicates that the Beyonders seen by the Marvel heroes was a newborn, whose natural growth process was slowed by accident, causing him to tamper with Earth. Overall, Defenders Beyond had addressed a lot of unclear or contradicting information about the Beyonders, while also integrating these legendary Secret Wars villains into Marvel Comics cosmos, giving them intimate links with the Celestials and the multiverse itself. If you've read the comics, you'll see that the Beyonder was no longer a hostile being, but rather a fully grown Beyonder. He went to dwell with his fellow Beyonders in the Beyond. In the exploration of the mystery outside of the multiverse and beyond the far shore, the Defenders came across the Beyonder for the first time. He and the other Beyonders told them about the Beyonders, and then asked the Defenders to return to the multiverse, but they were rebuffed. The Beyonder followed the Defenders into the White Hot Room as he had entangled in Loki's storyline. He traveled with them, entering both the House of Ideas and the Land of Couldn't Be. He leaves the narrative after arriving at the House of Ideas, pledging to return when he's ready.
You cannot change this.
Beyonder appearances in Spider-Man the Animated Series. The beloved animated series of Spider-Man from the 90s features Beyonder, who is voiced by Earl Bone. He appears in Season 5 as the Master of Madame Web in the 3-part Secret Wars episode. The story goes like this. There was 2 Spider-Men in one universe. No one is sure which of the 2 is the clone. One took the alias Ben Reilly and adapted the moniker Scarlet Spider. When Dr. Kurt Connors assumed that Ben was the genuine Peter and the other was the clone, the other grew angry and dejected. In order to become the evil Spider Carnage, he first assaulted Scarlet Spider before joining forces with the Carnage symbiote. He joined forces with Alistair Smythe, Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, and Kingpin as he desired to destroy all realities in addition to his own. It worked, but when it got to the dimension of the Beyonder and Madame Web, they went to train other Spider-Men from other universes by turning back time. After that, the Beyonder speeds up the time until a vast collection of supervillains have taken over the world to get Spider-Man ready for the role of the Chosen One. This involves teleporting Alistair Smythe, the Lizard, Dr. Doom, Red Skull, and Dr. Octopus over there for the cause. After establishing a base for Spider-Man, the Beyonder and Madame Web watched as he led the Fantastic Four, Black Cat, Storm, Iron Man, and Captain America into combat against the supervillains. Eventually, Dr. Doom learns about the Beyonder during their struggle and attempts to take his abilities, but is stopped by Spider-Man and the Thing. As a result, Beyonder deems Spider-Man as the victor, and everyone else is sent back to Earth without any knowledge of the conflict. After that, the Beyonder and Madame Web gather Spider-Man from several parallel universes in the 2-part series finale called the Spider Wars, and gives them the mission of stopping Spider Carnage before he obliterates all of reality. They succeed, but when Man-Spider threatens the task, the Beyonder teleports him back to the dimension, forcing him to return to his reality. Beyonder appearances in Avengers Assemble. The Beyonder also appears in the 2012 hit animated TV series Avengers Assemble. He is voiced by Steven Weber in this version. As a part of his experiment, this version of Beyonder built a Battleworld from other planets. Before telling the Avengers and the new Avengers about the Battleworld and beyond, he creates the Avengers Tower for them. Then, the Hulk and Bruce Banner got separated in the underworld by the Beyonder, who also sends the 2 characters to the Battleworld after manipulating Loki to create mayhem. After that, the Beyonder orders MODOK, Ares, Crimson Widow, and Absorbing Man to transport Iron Man and Captain America to him in the Citadel. Over there, the Beyonder tries to persuade Tony Stark to participate in his experiment while his enforcers battle Captain America. In reality, he tried to incite a conflict between Captain America and Iron Man. He didn't recognize their deception until they stole his information and fled. When the 2 Avengers teams tried to undo the underworld in the Wastelands, the Beyonder and Ares had an army of Ghost Riders hunt them down. Ultimately, Jane Foster had to finally defeat the Beyonder on her own, obviously in her Thunderstrike persona.
Without edge, my tech has bite.
What makes Beyonder so formidable? You can call the Beyonder an infinite dimensional or beyond dimensional being. He was first described as the most powerful being in the Marvel Comics cosmos and is the center of the Beyond realm. He assumed human form to learn more about what makes people tick. According to the narrator, his might was millions of times more than the total power of the multiverse, and a typical universe was like a drop of water in the Beyond realm. The abstract being, known as Death, demonstrated to be capable of being destroyed and recreated across the multiverse by the Beyonder. However, However, it did take a great deal of effort and damaged him to do so. He could still easily hurl an army of demons back to hell with a wave of his hand, even in this condition. The Beyonder can generally alter reality in all of his incarnations. His additional powers are teleportation, flying, and selecting his own physical qualities and resistances. The Beyonder underwent several retcons, which significantly diminished his strength. Despite being weaker than many cosmic entities due to the retcons, the Beyonder nevertheless had almost limitless reality warping abilities. He had the power to rule the whole planet with only a thought and could wreak havoc across several dimensions. He also possessed a vast array of telepathic powers that, among other things, allowed him to delete his own memories from every person on the planet and negate mental probes from strong telepaths. But let's put his strengths aside for a moment and discuss his weaknesses. The Beyonder has shown moments of frailty many times, despite his unlimited might. When Rachel Summers returned the immense abilities that he had given her and the thoughts of all living things in the universe, he was so overwhelmed that he dropped to the ground and seemed hindered in his fight against the Molecule Man. On many occasions, some of which he contrived, he also lost some or even all of his power. He also said that the Puma was capable of killing him when it was in complete harmony with the universe. The Beyonder's potency was significantly reduced after writer-editor Tom DeFalco retooled him after his creator Jim Shooter quit Marvel. He was no longer close to omnipotence, and some of the cosmic creatures who had previously been proven to be less powerful than him also underwent significant power upgrades. The Beyonder still possessed reality warping abilities, allowing him to exert cosmic level control over matter, energy, and reality that was unmatched by all but the most powerful cosmic beings. Trivia time! This being was initially referred to as the Beyonder by Galactus. At first, when anybody asked his name, the Beyonder would often reply, "I am from beyond," or "People call me the Beyonder." So, he ultimately accepted the nickname. In Secret Wars 2, issue number 2, the Beyonder needed to be taught how to use the restroom by Spider-Man. He has made many notable appearances and cameos in other character story arcs, including Deadpool and the Guardians of the Galaxy.
No.
Marvelous verdict. The Beyonder is now governed by the rules of the Marvel's primary universe. He can shift a whole planet, modify the laws of physics, and even annihilate the entire universe with a single thought. As a result, the Beyonder was portrayed in the Marvel comics as the most powerful entity ever to exist. The Beyonder's powers were retconned and lowered throughout time because, well, let's face it, he was simply far too powerful to provide any hero or villain a fighting chance. Nonetheless, the original Beyonder from the first Secret Wars remains one of the most powerful characters ever conceived for Marvel Comics. We still don't know whether MCU's Avengers Secret Wars will introduce the Beyonder or simply rely only on Kang the Conqueror to establish the multiversal struggle. But in any case, we hope to see this great figure in cinema sooner rather than later. Which villain do you want to see make his debut in the MCU? Let us know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed our content, then please don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, have a good one and be safe.